Hello, 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 and welcome to Joanne's Healing Within. I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne, your certified holistic personal trainer, intuitive healer, cosmic energy reader, medical astrologer, master of numerology, the creator of the Chakra Balance Numerology Cosmic Energy Forecast deck, a mom and a wife, and the owner of Holistic Fitness. How is everybody doing today? Wow, I cannot believe we're the 5th day of June, the 6th month already. We're halfway through the year. How are you all feeling? Before I dive into the big stuff, just want to remind you to share, like, and comment on today's show. And when you share on the, when you comment on today's show, I would really like to know what it is about the show you like. Do you like the introduction? Do you like the information? Do you like the card reading? What is it that you like about the show? Put that in the comments because I think that's important for today. So I'm going to dive right in. As we already said, share, like, and comment. If you've missed, let's see, was I on last week? I don't remember if I was on last week, but if you missed the week before, you can always catch that on Roku. You can catch it now on Amazon Fire TV, and of course all the channels that replay, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, etc., etc. Like I said, I don't believe I was on last week's show, so you're probably going to be looking for the week before. Anyway, so I want to give a shout out to all my amazing partners that make this show run week after week after week. And to start off with, we have Kitty Foss and Amy Martin. They're the host of Intuition of the Soul. You can catch them on so many different things. My favorite is Tuesday nights, where they actually do spirit communication, and everybody gets to engage in giving card readings or whatever they use as their tool to connect with spirit. So you can catch that. Then we also have Gabriella. Screw up her last name, so we won't do that. Medical intuitive, and also the founder of Live Health Solution, Kendra Greer, our amazing astrologer. Joe Monkman, he is our shamanic healing practitioner and a wellness advocate. CJ Ives Lopez, who's the host and also publisher of the Author's Porch podcast and magazine, which is actually coming out really soon. I can't wait to show that off. Nick Rafter, who's our real estate agent, writer, journalist, and editor as well. For those of you who might have that book, paper, article, whatever it is you're looking to write, reach out to him. Lisa Nice, who's our Mary Kay beauty consultant. And last but not least for the day, our amazing Dr. Terry Morse, who is the doctor of natural medicine, and in fact, my guest for today, which I'll be bringing on in a little while, but not yet. I'd like to talk to you a little bit about, but before I do, I know I've asked you to share the show, so let me share the show. So this way here, we're on, we're here, we're ready to go. Why can't I find the show? I love when I can't find the show. That is so funny. Anyway, I'll come back and share it later because I can't find it right now. That's very funny. So let's talk about the energy, the cosmic energy that's going on right now. For those of you who sort of stay in connected with the moon's energy, know that the moon rotates every 2.5 days. And for the last 48 hours, the moon has been in Leo energy, where it is today for the final day, and then it's going to be moving off into Virgo as of tomorrow. But let's stay in today. Let's stay right now. When we think about the Leo moon energy, Leo is associated with the heart. And it's also, it's not actually connected to the heart. It's just connected to how we feel. When we think about the moon, and Leo's energy is actually associated with your stomach, believe it or not, your solar plex energy. But the muscles and organs that Leo is associated with is the heart itself, like high blood pressure, circulation, and also the aurora as well. Which also means when you think about Leo's energy, it could very well activate heart palpitations, and also if those of you who do suffer with high blood pressure or have had a stroke in the past, these could be things that's being amplified right now, just because, again, that Leo's energy, that association. And I bring this to the table not to scare you, but to help you become more aware of what might be going on with your body right now. And that it's not necessarily something to be alarmed about, but to pay attention to, that it's just the energy of our planets amplifying those symptoms that's showing up. Now, of course, just an FYI, if you are experiencing the heart palpitation, anxiety, and you're concerned about it, definitely by all means, go get yourself checked out just to rule out anything of concern. And then once you do, you can just bring it back into the factor that the moon is amplifying these energies, these symptoms to pay attention to. Now, when we speak about the Leo moon energy, let's talk a little bit about the Saturn retrograde that just took place yesterday. Yes, Saturn is now in retrograde. Saturn is our planet of structure and our karmic lessons. What does that mean for you and I? Well, that just means that right now, our karmic lessons are going to show up on the table, which means anything that you have to learn, any lessons that you have to review on, different things that you might have done in the past, they may show up again for you to review and say, well, what have I learned about this lesson? And have I learned it enough where I no longer have to repeat it? Or is this another layer that I have to go through? And that's something I've learned recently, is that even though a pattern shows up and you've done everything you can to work on that pattern, and you might ask yourself, well, why is it showing up again? When it's a big lesson, a karmic cycle for that matter, it means that there's layers and layers and layers of that lesson to experience and learn something from. So if it is showing up again, don't get frustrated with it and say, oh my God, I still have to go through this, because it's a deeper lesson and you have to peel that next layer. So I invite you not to get frustrated if a pattern is showing up again and you in all your heart believe that you've done the work. You've done the work. And I've heard so many people say, but I've done this work already. Why is it continuing to show up? It continues to show up because there's another layer. And I'm right there with you all. I'm right there with you all. We all have that big, big lesson that we have to learn, and there's layers of it. It's like, the thing that comes to mind is like algebra. You have algebra 1, you have algebra 2, you have, I think it goes like that. You get the hint though, you get the whole process of it all. It's the same thing with our lessons and patterns. So if there is a pattern that happens to repeating itself or starts to repeat itself, recognize how much you've learned from it, how much you've grown since it, but then also recognize that there's another layer of it that you got to work through to learn that well as well, and not to get frustrated with yourself. So what I like to do is I like to help you with that energy and connect with one chakra today to really work on as we move through the Saturn retrograde. And remember, it just started retrograde yesterday. It's going to be retrograde, I believe, right through October. I don't have the exact date. But if you follow me tonight while I do my 12-card cosmic energy forecast on my personal page on Facebook, you'll find that date out. So you can definitely join me there. But for now, I want you just to take a moment and ask yourself one question regarding the Saturn retrograde, and let's see what chakra shows up to help you with the Saturn retrograde. And for today's energy, that opposite sign where Moon is in Leo, Saturn in Aquarius, the opposite energies. So the card we have for today is balance. So perhaps the Saturn retrograde could actually bring more balance into your life as you learn the lesson. The heart, high heart. This is about being compassionate with yourself, because again, when a pattern shows up and you really thought you've done everything you could with that lesson, and then here comes another part of it, it can be overwhelming. So be compassionate with yourself and recognize what you learned from the pattern. And there's another part of that pattern to show up. 7 and 6 works out to be 13. So it's a 4 energy. So this is really about your foundation. When I use the word foundation, the foundation in regards to the people that's connected to the pattern, your home, literally, and also how it affects your actual body. Because again, when our emotions are in a space of frustration or despair or annoyance, it can cause physical pain in our body. So it's really important to pay attention, which brings us back to that Moon in Leo, which is associated with high blood pressure, aurora, circulation, and being aware that if you have anxiety based on this pattern that's showing up, it could very well create a physical symptom in your body. So balance, balance, balance is the key for today. So work on your heart chakra, focus on pink, and just recognize that, yes, there's just another layer to that pattern. You're going to learn this lesson as you've done all the other ones, and you're going to peel this layer off. And by time Saturn retrograde is completed, guess what? You will have graduated and moved on to another layer of it. That's all it means. I hate to be the one to tell you it that way, but that's just what it is. So with all that being said, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and I'll be back with my guests. I'll be right back.
If you are turned off by conventional medicine and their mantra, "Do you want meds for that?" there's a better option. I'm Gabriella Mihalichan, medical intuitive and healer. Let me help you find the root cause of your illness and guide you through healing. My intuitive method directs your body to heal itself and removes barriers to healing. I invite you to schedule a session today at alivehealthsolutions.com.
Hi guys, I'm Kendrick Cortez Greer, personal astrologer and astrological counselor here in Brooklyn, New York. I've been an astrologer for over 23 years now, providing astrological readings, counseling sessions, workshops, and corporate events all throughout the tri-state area. I've been very blessed and lucky to have clients all throughout the United States and beyond. If you're interested in a reading that is warm, heartfelt, honest, and conducive to speaking to one of your best friends, please contact me at 917-863-7528. You can also email me at kendrickstar@gmail.com. That's Kendrick, STAR, @gmail.com. And for you Insta people, find me on Instagram at Kendrick Cortez Astrology. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Toodles.
Hello, my name is Nick Rafter, journalist, writer, editor. I'm happy to be offering copy editing and line editing services at competitive industry rates. If you have a book or any document that needs to be edited and thoroughly looked through, please contact me at nickrafter@gmail.com. Let's discuss how to get that work done. That's Nick Rafter, NICKRAFTER, @gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon.
Hello and welcome back to Joanne's Healing Within. For those of you just tuning in, I am your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne. I do have my amazing guest, but I'm not going to introduce it just yet. Want to remind you to share, like, and comment on today's show. If you missed the first portion of the show, I just want to share with you our card of the day, which I think is important. And I think it works really well with our topic of the day. The word is balance. The chakra is the high heart, so be compassionate to yourself. The number is 76, which is 13, which is 4, which is all about our body. And this was associated with the Saturn Retrograde that we have going on in Aquarius energy, and that today's moon is in Leo. So they're opposite each other. And recognizing that with Saturn being in retrograde, it does mean that you're going to experience a pattern showing up in your life again. And it's just showing up to teach you another layer, another lesson. So do not get frustrated with it. Recognize it's going to bring more balance into your life, just as this topic is going to bring in for today. Leading right into that, I have my amazing guest, Dr. Terry Morse here, whom is going to be sharing with all of us about how salt, and yes, you heard it, salt, key to health. So, Dr. Terry, if you don't mind, introducing yourself for us.
Thank you so much. This is really the most fun topic. I don't know, there's so many fun topics, but this is great. So, I grew up born and raised in Minnesota, and I lived 36 years in Louisiana. So just a little bit to start about salt. Minnesota is known as kind of like cooking-wise, kind of bland, right? So not very many spices and all that. I grew up like that. So when I heard about salt being bad for you, I said, oh, really? Well, I better get off of all salt. So I got off of all salt. I said, I can do this. I've got willpower. I can do this. I went off salt, and the food was worse than anything I'd ever tasted. Brown rice with no salt. I'm like, oh, wow, but I can do this, So I did. Anyway, later on, I've had almost 50 years in the natural health field. I'm a doctor of natural medicine, and I gained that credential through the World Organization of Natural Medicine out of Toronto. It's an international group. But anyway, point is, a lot of training. My husband and I set up a clinic, and we had a clinic in Louisiana for almost 25 years, and very successful. But point is, you got to really know what works if you're going to work with people, right? The no salt thing does not work. I don't know if any of you have experienced that. I know you got a lot of discipline, but point is, it doesn't work. Now I'm going to give you the data behind that, why it doesn't work. What we're going to have a couple of different sections here. We're going to talk about salt and how it came to be that it got such a bad name, still does. And then a little bit of history and the culture of salt in the world. And then a little bit more about how to use it and the different types of salt, what you should choose. And then some references that you might want if you want to look into it a little bit deeper. And, you want to connect with me on another level. My email address is Terry, my first name, Terry, at my last name, Morse, Morse, wellness.com. So that's Terry at morsewellness.com. Anyway.
There is a flyer with that information that will probably be displayed in a little while too. So they'll be able to see that too.
Thank you, my dear. So is it good or bad? Well, I'm saying it's good, and I'll tell you why. So what we have here that we call salt is sodium chloride. Now, we do know there are many types of salt today. Many people are into Himalayan salt or other sea salts. So we'll just start, though, with the indoctrination that occurred in the early 20th century about salt, meaning sodium chloride. So previous to that time, and we'll go into this a little bit more deeply when we get into the second section about the history, we'll go in, but people had no problem with salt, okay? But there was a research study with a few rats back in the 1920s and 30s, and it seemed to prove that salt caused high blood pressure. That was the conclusion, at any rate. And that is what was propagated. Now, we call that indoctrination because the people that funded that study did not have our best interests at heart. And today we know many things about indoctrination and that type of thing and misinformation. So they started with the teachers and the doctors and training them that it caused high blood pressure. And so then it went down to the public level, and all the old doctors are died now, and everybody pretty much believes this. It isn't true. Now I'm going to give you some references a little bit later. Dr. David Brownstein in Michigan, a medical doctor, is one of them, but we'll give you his specific reference later. But he proved definitively, he went back into the study, he looked at it, and furthermore, the information we have, the examples we have in clinical study do not support that, meaning we don't get high blood pressure from salt. As a matter of fact, it can lower blood pressure, which is really amazing. Now, everybody's different. I don't want to say that that's universal because there are some cases where there's been so much damage, kidneys or the bladder or things like that, that we have to be a little bit cautious. However, in the main, let me talk to you about the story here. Salt. So, did you notice that your sweat is salty? And your tears? And your blood? And you go into the hospital, they give you a saline drip. Why would they give you a saline drip if it's so bad for you? Because that's the only way to bring your energy up. Here's how it works.
The only way to bring salt back into your body, isn't it?
Oh, yes. Well, yes. Because actually, there's very little sodium in nature. Most plants have no sodium in them, a lot of potassium. Celery is one of the only few things that has any sodium in it. So you hardly get any. So it's very precious. And we're going to go into that a little bit more when we get into the culture. But let's stick with the salt and what it does. So in training for medical profession, doctors, my own training as a naturopathic doctor, we learn about the sodium-potassium pump. You probably never have heard of that. But at the cellular level, suppose this is a cell, there's sodium here, potassium inside, and they go back and forth. They transfer like that. And this is a pump-like effect, and it creates activity. And in medical textbooks, it's actually called, if you believe this, the life-death ratio. Your cells live or die based on the relationship of the sodium and the potassium. And you won't believe this. The relationship should be 2.5 to 1. Now, I know that sounds a little bit technical, but what does that mean? That means that there should be 2.5 times more sodium at your cellular level than potassium. Whoa! Wow. Does that blow that?
Yeah, considering when you think about the average person who is either being informed to minimize or eliminate their salt in their diet due to health issues, and here you are saying to us right now that, well, we need to have more salt in our body than we are. So this is going to be from my point of view, this is going to be a mind-blowing and mind-changing conversation. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people questioning, like, really, am I really supposed to be doing this? And being that it's the key to health. So go ahead.
I'm so glad you're excited about it, because I am too, because wait till I get to the examples of what it does to change people. Okay, so but let me go a little bit further than that. Okay, so we know that minerals are the key to health. I mean, minerals are much more important than vitamins. I don't know if everybody knows that, but they are. If you have to choose, you choose minerals, because that's the key to your health. And good salt, which most of us know about today, has over 80 minerals in it. So guess what? It's God's mineral supplement. It's God's mineral supplement right there in our earth and in the ocean. So we should be consuming minerals. And so, of course, there's a preponderance of sodium in it, because that's one of the only ways you're going to get sodium. You're not going to get it from the plants. If you eat an animal, which is why, actually, I have to just say this is another topic, but humans are carnivores, and we need to have the blood of animals, which has got a lot of sodium in it, and meat and that type of thing. But that's another conversation. But anyway, let me go here. Oh, so the body and hydration. Hydration is the key to life. Everybody knows that. You cannot be hydrated unless you have enough sodium at the cellular level. I never finished that example. So here's your cell. So you got the sodium potassium pump. I think everybody knows that when you have salt here, it will pull water to it. In the old days, you don't know how old I am, but in the old days, we had salt shakers, and the salt was moist, and we had to put rice in the salt shakers. If anybody's my age, they're going to remember that, because the rice would absorb the water, and then the salt wouldn't cake, and you could shake it out of the shaker, okay? So salt pulls water to it. Now, this is an important concept, because at the cellular level, if you have enough sodium, the water that you drink is going to be pulled inside your cells, and that's called hydration. If you don't have enough sodium at the cellular level and you're not eating salt, guess what happens? The water that you drink goes around your cells, literally drowning them, goes into your bladder, and you have to pee all the time. Now, there are a lot of people out there that will tell me they have to pee all the time, and they're darn tired of this. Well, guess what? You can stop that in its tracks just that fast by starting to eat salt. And in
fact, with that statement, there's a lot of people out there that actually don't drink water because of the fact of thinking that if I drink so much water, I'm going to have to pee all the time. So they stop drinking water. So they're actually doing a disservice to themselves, because they're now creating more dehydration. And as you were just about to say, you got to throw some salt in your water, yes?
Well, I don't like salt in my water, but some people do. My husband, he used to like it in his water all the time. I prefer to snack on it. I just snack on it 5, 10, 15 times a day. I have it out in my bedroom, at my office, in my car, in my purse, everywhere. And I'm snacking on it all the time. You can do what you want. But if you have enough sodium at the cellular level, you are going to be hydrated. Now, this is another astounding statement. Do you know that men need more salt than women? I mean, biological men, males, okay? The physical male body requires more salt than the female body. This is an important. Why? Well, we're different, and there's a difference in the muscular structure. I don't know I can't tell you I know all the reason for it, but I do know that I'll just go into a little bit of history right now. In times past, I'm just jumping ahead, but when conquerors would take over a population, the first thing they would do is take the salt stores, take them away, because people could not survive without them. And the men would go weak. You can't be strong without salt, because these are your minerals, and it's your sodium. And sodium helps the cells to hydrate. It strengthens your kidneys, strengthens your bladder, strengthens your mind, strengthens your digestive system. everything. And so if the men were going to fight the adrenal glands, I didn't mention them, they have to have enough salt. It's just astounding. I just challenge everybody who's listening to this to start tasting salt and see what it does for you. You'll be able to feel it, because if you keep it in your mouth and just let it dissolve a little bit, I don't mean sodium chloride. That's not salt. We're going to get into that in history. That's a waste. Never consume that. It's good for putting out fires. You can put it in your bath water, but do not, you can't put it on your soil. It ruins the soil. That should tell us something, right? But we'll get into that.
Yes.
But
so with that being said, before we dive further, because I'm sure that the audience is like, well, we want to get into it. Why don't we take that commercial break? But before we do, let them know how they can reach you again.
Okay. My email is Terry, Terr with a Y. Don't ever put an I on it. Terry at Morse, like Morse code, MORSE, wellness, morsewellness.com.
Excellent. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. Get your water, and if you do have some salt, get that too, and we'll be right back.
If you are turned off by conventional medicine and their mantra, do you want meds for that? There's a better option. I'm Gabriella Mihalichin, medical intuitive and healer. Let me help you find the root cause of your illness and guide you through healing. My intuitive method directs your body to heal itself and removes barriers to healing. I invite you to schedule a session today at alivehealthsolutions.com.
Hi guys, I'm Kendrick Cortez-Greer, personal astrologer and astrological counselor here in Brooklyn, New York. I've been an astrologer for over 23 years now, providing astrological readings, counseling sessions, workshops, and corporate events all throughout the tri-state area. I've been very blessed and lucky to have clients all throughout the United States and beyond. If you're interested in a reading that is warm, heartfelt, honest, and conducive to speaking to one of your best friends, please contact me at 917-863-7528. You can also email me at kendrickstar@gmail.com. That's Kendrick, STAR, @gmail.com. And for you Insta people, find me on Instagram at Kendrick Cortez Astrology. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Toodles.
Hello, my name is Nick Rafter, journalist, writer, editor. I'm happy to be offering copy editing and line editing services at competitive industry rates. If you have a book or any document that needs to be edited and thoroughly looked through, please contact me at nickrafter@gmail.com. Let's discuss how to get that work done. That's Nick Rafter, NICKRAFTER, @gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon.
Hello and welcome back to Joanne's Healing Within. I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne. I have my amazing guest here, Dr. Terry Morse. And just to give you a little know what goes on behind the scenes, we were having a major conversation back here, and Bobby has a lot to say about this topic today. I think it's the most I've heard him talk in a long time behind the scenes. So anyway, as Terry and I were chatting about, if you missed the beginning of the show, you will definitely need to come back, watch it on the replay, because the beginning is just as powerful of what we're going to be sharing about now, as Terry's going to share the history of salt use and why? That's the big one. Why has it been so important to cultures throughout the world? So pay attention to this topic. So go ahead, Terry.
Thank you. I want to piggyback just a tad on what Bobby said, because Bobby remembers what I said in the past time, that his mom used to put rice in the salt because it was moist and it would cake if you didn't have the rice there to absorb the moisture. So he said, well, why don't we do that anymore? Well, it's because they dry the salt, and they dry it so much. This is a key thing. Salt has minerals in it that are in a gas state. And when you dry it, those minerals disappear. So it gets even worse. And then they put additives in it to make it even more dry so that it just shakes for you. You know that big thing about, I can shake the salt. Oh, yeah. No, it should be moist. All salt should be moist. And furthermore, let me just say one other little thing about salt. Salt should never be touched by metal, It should only be touched by plastic or wood. In the olden times, people kept it in wooden containers. And I actually have one that was made in Germany some time ago. It's an antique. And it's a wooden box that you keep your salt in. It's so cool. But anyway, back to the history. I want to tell you, when did sodium chloride come about? Since that's all that people pretty much know about today, except for those of us who know more. When did that happen? Well, there was such a thing, as you all know about, called the Industrial Revolution. And during that time, people started to make all kinds of experiments. And during those experiments, they ended up with a lot of waste product that was white, and it was salty, but it wasn't salt, but it was a waste product. And they said, what are we going to do with this? Because we put it on the soil, nothing grows, and what are we going to do? Oh, let's feed it to the people. The populace, the peasants, they won't know the difference. And that's when that happened. And that was so long ago. Everybody's died out, of course. Nobody remembers that. It's part of our history, though. And so that's when it happened. So sodium chloride is a waste product. You shouldn't even use it for anything except putting it in your bath water or putting out fires. That's all it's good for. Just throw it away. Don't ever ingest it. Now, I shouldn't say that really, because if I go to a restaurant and I forget to bring my real salt with me, which I always do, but if I forget, I will use some regular salt because it's better than nothing. It's terrible. It's better than nothing. So
Terry, before you go further, question, as you're speaking about going to, let's say the restaurants, when they have the table salt on the tables, you're suggesting not to use that salt, but to theoretically carry your own. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, that's absolutely what I'm saying. There's just, it's a poison. I mean, it's not literally a poison because, it won't kill you in the moment, but it's acidifying. Everybody's talking about being alkaline. You can't get alkalized with sodium chloride. You can get alkalized with real salt, but not sodium chloride. That's acidifying.
Yes, just wanted to make that clear for those people who go out and eat at restaurants and diners and throwing that salt on their food, thinking, yay, this is what Terry says we should be doing. Pay attention, folks.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. So remember, if you ever have a leftover little bottle that used to have aspirin in it or any other medication or anything, put salt in it. Put one in your purse, one in the next purse, one in your lunch bag. Guys, put it in your pocket, put it in your glove box, put it everywhere, and especially by your bedside. Take some at your bedside at bedtime because you won't get up in the middle of the night for the reason that a lot of people do, which is to tinkle over, It just makes you hold your water. I'm supposed to be talking about the history. That's the next subject. Okay.
Yeah, hang in there. Don't get carried away on us here.
No. But I want to talk about Sweden. In the 1600s, Swedish people in the main, each person generally consumed about 100 grams of salt a day.
That seems like a lot.
That's a lot. In our present culture, if people consume any, that's great. But, sometimes it goes up to 20 or 30 grams, but 100, never. Those people were so strong, you see. And here in Minnesota, we have a lot of Swedish background people, Norwegians. These are very strong genetic people. And the salt had a lot to do with it. So people also use salt for money because it was so precious. You cannot live without it. Remember what I said in the last segment about your kidneys and your adrenals and your bladder and your brain and your digestive system. If you don't digest your food, you're dead in the water. All disease starts in the digestive system. That's what the Chinese have said for 5,000 years, and they're right. So if you want to digest your food, put salt on your food. That's the purpose of the salt, to digest. Of course, it makes it taste a lot better if you've got the right kind of salt. But point is, it used to be used as money. Remember that old saying, a man is worth his salt? That's because they were paid in salt. If you went to a guest's home, you would bring salt. You can't live without it. People used to preserve their food in salt. That's why there was such a high consumption of it. Now, in the early 1900s, people stopped preserving their food with salt. Why? Because we got refrigeration. That is the first time high blood pressure came about. Now, take a look at that for history. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
High blood pressure comes from not eating enough salt. Now, it helps your body energy because, people have to have salt to have good body energy, like we said earlier with the hydration. I used to live in Louisiana, as I said earlier, and I was a tour guide at one point, and I would do tours of the plantation homes in southern Louisiana. And they would always have a huge dining room table with every place set, which the way it was back then with this particular pattern and these things. Every single place setting had a container there for salt. Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. Every single person had their own salt dish. It was a little dish, but it was salt because you had to put salt on everything. You had to snack on it. I mean,
this is really mind-blowing because, again, the only thing I keep hearing, as you say what you're saying, is back in the days, don't put salt on your food, especially those who suffered with high blood pressure. Right off the back, I remember when my grandmother was alive and she had high blood pressure, and when she'd come over for dinner, she'd want to put the salt on, but the cap was on the salt container, and she'd pour, and none of us would tell her that the cap was still on because ideally the doctors told her she wasn't supposed to have salt. So in her mind, she was having it because she's pouring it. Meanwhile, again, if we were hearing this then, we would have been telling her to take that cap off so she can pour it on, assuming she was eating the right salt.
Wow, that's so interesting. And, it's so important to have the truth. Yeah. And so many of us now are gaining truth, and it's so incumbent upon us to share it with each other. This is something so simple. We can share it with everyone. If you don't remember all the background, no worries. You'll remember some of it, and I'll give you some references in a little bit. If you want to have a document, just email me. I'll send you a wonderful article about it. So I want to go into some of the uses of it because I've already touched on some. Let me see. Oh, yes, I've touched on that. Oh, I want to go into the types of salt. Pretty much everybody knows about Himalayan salt. It's popular. It comes from the ground. Yes, it used to be an ocean, but it comes from the ground. Do you know that they pull it out of the ground with bulldozers?
Oh, no.
Well, how else are they going to get it out of the ground? Salt is never supposed to be touched by metal. It's an alive substance. The best salt, there are a couple of really, really good salts. I prefer the Celtic salt, Celtic. Some people say Celtic, but it comes from the northwestern coast of France. And there you might say, well, what's so good about that? Well, they have a 4.5 million acre tract of pristine marshland in the northwest Celtic coast of France. And there are these channels, pure channels with marshes where the salt comes in and is purified. The water is purified through these channels, and it's clay lined, and they collect it with wooden paddles. Now that is the old way of doing it. You never touch it with metal. It's hand collected daily. This is such a fine salt, and it's not expensive. You can get it from a company called Selena Naturally, or you can look it up anywhere. Celtic, Celtic. They have different forms of it. I like the crystals because I like to snack on them and chew them, but I also like it for cooking because it's cheaper that way. But you can get the fine ground to shake on your eggs, your scrambled eggs and whatever. That's really great. But there's another really good one. It's called Premier, and it's pink. So people think it's Himalayan, but it isn't. It's Premier Pink. That's the company name. You can get it on Amazon. But it's a combination of Eastern and Western hemispheric energies. It's half Mediterranean and half Hawaiian. And Hawaiian red salt and Mediterranean gray makes pink. And so the taste is exquisite. It's the best salt in the world, I think. That's just mine.
Awesome.
I'm a salt connoisseur.
Awesome. So what I like to do before we go further, because we do have to take another commercial break, so to stay on track here, Terry, let them know how they can get in contact with you again.
Okay, it's my name, Terry, Terry, at Morse, Morse, wellness, morsewellness.com.
Excellent. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, Terry's going to share a little bit more about how we can use the salt and a tip or two and some salt recommendations. So we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Joe Monkman, and I am a personal development trainer. And that means that I help people step into their leadership roles, take their place as a visionary, really understand their own mastery in the world so that they can really find their place at the buffet of life. And if you want to know more, you can find me on my Facebook page at Joe Monkman and joemonkman@gmail.com.
Hi, my name is Lisa Nice, and I'm an independent beauty consultant for Mary Kay. I'm also a single mom of 5 and a physical therapist, so I love Mary Kay because it fits so nicely into my lifestyle. New year, new you. I'm looking for 15 faces, and it's a free either facial or a glam look. You get free samples, and you get entered to win a $200 Beautiful Kate Spade bag. So if anything about this commercial has interested you, like number 1, the opportunity, number 2, be a face. So call me, 908-546-0266. Try it, you're gonna love it.
Hi, I'm CJ. The Author's Porch is a community where you find good books and good people. We collaborate with services that deliver quality to authors and publish a magazine for authors by authors. Come by, let us feature you or review your book. Coffee is always on, and no matter what time you arrive or where you come from, the porch light is always on.
Hello and welcome back to Joanne's Healing Within. For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne. I have my amazing guest, Dr. Terry Morse, here with me. If you are just tuning in, remember to share, like, and comment. You will definitely have to go back and watch on any of the platforms, the replay, so you can really get to understand this whole concept of how salt key to health, and it really is. And it's brain blowing, brain changing when you really get to understand how important salt is for us. And it's not going to create the myths that unfortunately our health industry has us thinking that if we consume too much salt, it's going to create high blood pressure. It's actually going to do the opposite of what I've just learned today from Dr. Terry Morse. And she's going to share with us how should we actually be using salt and some recommendations behind it. So Terry, if you wouldn't mind just letting us know how we should be using salt and a recommendation or two behind it.
Okay, so thank you very much. That's a really good point. Just get real practical here. We should salt all our food, first of all. Now, don't salt it to the point that you don't like it. That's ridiculous. Your own body knows what it wants. And if you're not used to eating salt, you may have to start slower. But I mean, as I said in the beginning, I had completely gone off of all salt. So I had to ease back in and train my mind that this was good. But what a difference in the flavor when you put real salt on. I don't mean the sodium chloride junk. That's trash. But you should use it throughout the day. You should snack on it because we no longer preserve our food in salt. And so we don't get enough salt. As I was saying earlier, in Sweden in the 1600s, they consumed 100 grams of salt a day. Very, very strong people. And it was only in the 1900s, the early 1900s, that high blood pressure came about when people started using refrigeration. So traveling, this is such an important point because so many of us travel either long distances or short, but who wants to stop for a potty break? Really? I mean, isn't that inconvenient? So if you feel the urge, all you do is pull out your little salt container and start snacking on your salt. And you wouldn't believe, within minutes, you don't have to stop. You don't have to stop at all. You just keep.
Now I know in the part before you talked about specific salt. If you could just mention one, and of course that will lead them to go back to watch the rest of the show earlier. But what is that one salt you recommend if they're going to carry it with them so they don't have to go frequently to the bathroom?
Well, I like the Celtic, Celtic. It comes from France. The company is Selena Naturally. It's a great company. And I want to talk a little bit about the founder of, well, it's his daughter now because he's deceased, but Dr. Jacques Delong is from France. And he's the one who wrote the first book about salt. And it's an amazing man. He just broke through that entire barricade of salt being bad for you. And now there are other books. Dr. David Brownstein is a medical doctor in Michigan, and he wrote a book called Salt, Your Way to Health. You've got to get that book if you have any questions about it, because it's a skinny little book. You can get it on Amazon, but it's amazing because he totally debunks The research that seemed to show that salt causes high blood pressure totally shows how that's not true, shows why salt is good for you, how it helps the adrenals, the kidneys, the bladder, the brain, the digestion, all this, all your energy. Now, if you have fatigue, who doesn't have fatigue during the day sometime? It's a matter of dehydration. 75% of all fatigue is due to dehydration. People say, well, I drink lots of water. I'm sorry. Are you eating enough salt? That's the key. The key to hydration is salt. Yes, you have to drink a lot of water too, but to get the water inside the cells, you have to have the salt. Snack on salt throughout the day. Put it on all your food. It'll enhance the taste of the food, but like I say, don't overdo it. I mean, you can't overdo it, but if you don't like it, that's overdoing. So what else? What have I got a note? I've got a note on here. Oh, yes, of course, I said at bedtime. Take it at bedtime. I always take a snack of it at bedtime so I don't have to get up during the night, which I wouldn't normally anyway, but some people do. But there is another doctor I'd like to mention. Again, another medical doctor. It's amazing how some of these medical doctors are coming online with the truth now. A lot of people know about Dr. Joe Mercola, Mercola, Mercola.com. He has an article every day he puts out, and it's worth getting on his list. Recently, he put out a beautiful article with gobs of research in it on salt. And if anybody wants that, just email me and I'll send it to you. It's but you can go to his website. You might have to, anyway, you can go to his website. There is so much to be said about, I want to tell you this. This is such an interesting story. When I was in Louisiana, I noticed, I lived there 36 years, that all the people down there, the traditional, put salt on their watermelon. Haven't you seen people put salt on their watermelon?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. Guess what? Why? There are two reasons. First of all, it makes it taste sweeter. Why would it make it taste sweeter? Because it adds minerals to it. Good salt is minerals, God's mineral supplement, over 80 minerals. Secondly, though, it balances the sugar in fructose. So when you have a fruit which is high in fructose, and it could possibly unbalance the blood sugar in the body, you put salt on it, and those minerals help to moderate that fructose so that it's better for your body. So I've even put salt on bananas. Now, I know that sounds really strange, but I put salt on a lot of my fruit these days because I know the principle. The principle is fructose can, in our world today, because we're so out of balance, we're so demineralized, it can throw us out of balance. So put more salt on it. It's just an amazing thing. Put salt on everything. Put it in your water if you want it. I don't like it in my water. I snack on it, though, 10 times a day. So, Joanne, what do you do with your salt?
Well, what I like to do is I want to add a little tip, and then I'll tell you what I do with my salt. For those who might be sitting back questioning everything that Dr. Terry is saying, because, of course, your doctor might have said to you, you want to cut the salt out. Here's a tip I have for you. I'm one of those who like to try it out for myself and experiment to see, is what Dr. Terry is actually saying to be true. Try it out. Do it for 90 days, not 30 days, not 30 days, 90 days. And why I say 90 days and not 30, it's going to take your body a little time. It's going to take your mind time to retrain the thinking that, oh my God, if I consume all this salt, my blood pressure is going to elevate. Because again, I truly believe what we say becomes our reality. So it really is about changing your mindset, changing the internal dialogue that you have, and give yourself 90 days to practice what it is Terry is saying and see how your body responds in reference to, especially if you're someone who does have high blood pressure. See if your blood pressure comes down with the fact that now you're actually doing something the opposite of what you've been told to do. So that's my tip of the day is try it out 90 days. Remember, you're working on changing your mindset, and you're changing that internal dialogue with what it is you're going to be doing for 90 days. Now, what I do with salt, to be honest, well, I'm going to be pretty much doing what I just suggested the other folks to do, because I'm really not a salt eater. Like, I keep my food as it is, and I will too be, especially at nighttime before going to go into bed, even though I'm not one to really wake up in the middle of the night to have to go to the bathroom. But hey, you know what? If it means that I'm going to be sitting and taking in salt and making myself healthier and stronger, why not try it? So that's where I'm at with the salt. So I'll let you know.
Well, I'd like to say one final thing. I know we're out of time almost, but remember that salt alkalizes your body much more effectively than alkaline water. I mean, much, much, much more effectively. It alkalizes your body, which is a very good thing, alkalizes your tissues. But if somebody does take their blood pressure and it goes up when they eat salt, what that means is that they're severely mineral deficient. So they need to ease into it, but start consuming a lot more minerals, get a high level, good quality mineral supplement. Add that in. It might take a while because people who have been out of balance for a long time, it can take a while to come back in. So it isn't a magic wand, although it is for some people. Does that make sense, Joanne?
Exactly. And again, it's like I said, give your body time. It's not something that's going to change. It could change overnight and it could take a little time, just as Terry says. And again, anyone who has questions, concerns, feel free to reach out to Terry. Terry, give them that information again.
Okay, it's my name, Terry, Terry, at Morse, that's my last name, Morse, morsewellness.com. Thank you, Joanne.
Excellent. And what I'd like to say before we do take a quick commercial break is for those of you who are really interested in all of what Terry has been sharing with us, know that she will be back on the show again in July 24th. So put on your calendar. She's actually going to be sharing about metabolism and gut health. And I know gut health right now is a big thing. So if you're liking what she's sharing with us about salt, definitely put this on your calendar. Come join us then. With all that being said, usually during this time, I give a card reading to my guests, but due to the fact that the information was so much more important than the card reading live, Terry, I'm going to reach out to you later for that card reading if you're open to receiving it off the air. So all that being said, thank you, Terry, for being here today. We're going to take that quick commercial break. I'll be back with the conclusion of today's show.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you again.
Each of us has a mission. What's your mission? Would you like to become a community health resource specialist so you can help your family and your community? For more information on this new training, email me at terry@morsewellness.com. That's TERRY @MORSE wellness.com. You can become a community health resource specialist.
Did you know that stress and unprocessed emotions can store in your body, creating more muscle tension and pain, causing illness and disease to flare up? With the help of Chakra Balance Reiki Healing, you can begin to feel better within one session. Hello, I'm Reverend Joanne Angel Barry Cologne, your certified holistic personal trainer, intuitive healer, cosmic energy reader, medical astrologer, master of numerology, and the creator of the Chakra Balance Numerology Cosmic Energy Forecast Deck. And I would like to help you release issues from your tissues as you release emotional weight and begin to feel better physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. For more information, email healingwithin76@gmail.com. Hello and welcome back to Joanne's Healing Within. For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm your host, Joanne Angel Barry Cologne, and you missed an amazing show, so you definitely need to come back and watch. You can watch it right here. You can watch it on Roku. Those of you who live in Long Island, you can watch it on Optimum TV, channel 115, 2 p.m. every Thursday, and on all the other platforms as well. So it was a great show today. I want to remind you, for those of you who are interested in knowing what's taking place next week, I have an amazing guest coming on, actually two next week. We're going to do an astrology, what do they call that? An astrology demonstration next week. So those of you who are interested in learning how astrology works, next week I have Kitty Foss, who's going to be demonstrating with Lisa Nice on our show next week, all about a demonstration on, I believe it's going to be a Saturn return, and it could be Chiron. One of the two, I'm not exactly sure which one they'll be doing the demonstration on, but tune in for that next Sunday. And as usual, many of my partners have amazing promos going on, so I like to give them a shout out. There is a flyer with all their information. All you need to do is check out that flyer, reach out to them. So starting off with Joe Monkman, He's whole spirit messages and energy insight. Then we have CJ Aj Lopez, the Author's Porch podcast, and also magazine, which, as I said, is coming out in July. I'll be talking more about that as we get closer to the date. And as I mentioned before, we have Kitty Foss and Amy Martin, Intuition of the Soul. They are the hosts. And just as we had my amazing guest, Morris Wellness, Self-Healing, Education, Regeneration by Terry Moss. And if you missed today's show, you missed a great one. And last but not least, we have Find Your Place with Nick Rafter. So there you have it, guys. What an amazing show today was. And again, tune in next Sunday as we will be doing an astrology demonstration with Kitty Foss and Lisa Nice. Super excited. I look forward to seeing you all back here next Sunday, 3 p.m. And if you missed today's show, please go ahead and rewatch on all the amazing platforms. Till then, bye-bye for now.